Some unexpected news coming out of Browns training camp, some fantasy football. We begin our opponent by opponent Cleveland Browns 2024 preview. Let's get right to it on the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, the sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
In the backfield, Latavius Murray. Huntley takes the shotgun snap. Back to pass. Looks. The ball got stripped away. In the air. The Browns fight for the ball. And it's picked up by Myles Garrett. He's going to score. Touchdown.
It's going to be sick.
Welcome, everybody. Yes, Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, your spot for Cleveland Browns, for NFL, for fantasy football, and training camp. Just before that summer break, starting to heat up around the NFL. And for the Browns, well, there was an unexpected surprise from one of the most unassuming, quiet, respectful professionals on the whole Browns roster, not named Nick Chubb, and that's Amari Cooper, who no-showed. Amari Cooper, unexpected, unexcused is the word coming out of the Browns. The unexcused absence from mandatory minicamp today. And there's no definitive answer, but Coach Kevin Stefanski after practice said it looked to be in part, well, he didn't say it looked to be in part, but he was saying they have had dialogue with Amari Cooper's agent. He's going to be 30 on Monday. So to me, to the outside, it looks like, well, you have an expiring contract for a soon-to-be 30-year-old wide receiver, finishing up a $100 million contract. It might have something to do with that. So that is a huge concern, because if you are going, and you are, with Ken Dorsey's shotgun, throwing it around, running game, secondary, everything out of the gun, you're supposed to be slinging it. David Njoku at his celebrity softball game described the future offense as, quote, juicy. You need Amari Cooper, because after that, folks, that wide receiver room gets thin, and it gets questionable real quick. You then elevate Jerry Jeudy to number one. That's something we're going to follow. We'll follow here on the show. Make sure you click notifications on, click like, leave a comment. You concerned? You worried? What do you think about Amari Cooper not being at camp? Deshaun Watson also threw today. 7-on-7 drills for the first time. Some against air, some in practice. Stefanski said he thought he looked good. He's making the progress. The shoulder, no concern, which is good. After taking that dumb hit in the softball game with Njoku, everyone held their breath. I'm sure you're like me, like, sit down and stay out of the way, Deshaun, okay? Don't put yourself in any physical danger. You're going to have enough of that when the season starts. Follow us on X, on Twitter, at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, Instagram and TikTok, at AndyMCSports. So starting today, we are going to begin our week by week, our opponent by opponent Browns preview. So we're going to go every opponent and take a look and get to know that opponent a little bit better. And I thought, well, one guy who's a Dallas Cowboys fan and, well, happens to be one of the best fantasy football minds in the world, senior fantasy analyst for Sports Illustrated, friend of the show, Michael Fabiano. Let's bring him back. Michael, how are you, my friend?
I'm hanging in there, brother. I'm hanging in there.
Well, I heard you had a bit of a bum shoulder, so I hope you're feeling good. You're going to be on the mend. You know, you're going to be just fine. Get some DDP yoga in you, right? Get you cooking.
Yeah, man. So 2 years ago, I tore my rotator cuff on my left shoulder. In a bike accident out in California. And this time around, I don't know what I did. I have no clue, man. I think I just got old. I know I'm 50 now, man. I have no idea. But now my right shoulder's jacked, and I'm looking like surgery's inevitable, and I've got to have surgery before the start of the football season so I can actually, do things, because it's kind of busy for me at that point. Right. So it's been a lousy couple of days, but we'll fight through it.
Well, I appreciate you toughing it out for us. And before we dive into your Dallas Cowboys, the week one opponent for the Cleveland Browns, I want to talk about this breaking news coming out of Browns minicamp today of Amari Cooper not showing up, kind of the last guy, the quietest star wide receiver ever, somebody you know quite well from his Dallas Cowboys days, who the Browns got in that sweet deal for a fifth rounder. His $100 million contract's expiring.
Yeah, you had to remind me of that. Thanks.
That's right. Hey, we think he's been great.
Another lousy trade the Cowboys have made, around a wide receiver. You want to go back to Roy Williams or Joey Galloway? Wow. I could just keep going. All right, go ahead. Stuck the knife in. It's fine.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to bring that up. But now he's our problem, apparently. He's now our problem, apparently, here, not showing up. this is an interesting case because he's still super productive, but he's hitting that 30 age, missed a couple games, the wear and tear. Like, is this a case you see the Browns like short-term sort of bridge contract? Like this is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Remember, I mean, turning 30 for a wide receiver is not the same as turning 30 for most running backs.
Right.
And so I think Amari still probably has a few good seasons left in him. With that being said, I think this is all about a contractual situation. He's going into a contract year, as you mentioned, at 30. I don't know why he would not be there for a mandatory camp otherwise. So this has something to do with contract. And I do wonder if some of the Browns players who may be up for a contract looking for some sort of extension, don't just have the 230 guaranteed that Watson got in the back of their mind, thinking, you know what? I've actually been out on the field. I've been producing for this team. I deserve a little of that cash.
Yep. And that's an ongoing problem for the Browns. Now, luckily, the NFL salary cap went up a bit to alleviate some of that, but you're right. It's going to be sitting there as a story and something where you're going to have to let some good players go at some point. But Michael, I look at this, and this can be worked into sort of the fantasy football conversation. Boy, man, if you take Amari Cooper away from that Browns wide receiver room, your top guy is Jerry Jeudy, who I like the idea of, but we haven't seen anything.
Not as a one. I mean, if you haven't seen Jerry Jeudy or any player for that matter to this point in his career break out, start to show you some flashes, I don't know that it's ever going to happen.
Right.
I think he's probably a secondary wide receiver now in the NFL. He was a first-round pick. Certainly was a disappointment for the Denver Broncos. And I wouldn't want him as my one if I'm Cleveland. I can tell you that right now.
Oh.
Hell, if Cooper holds out into the regular season, and I mean, typically that's not going to be the case, but David Njoku might be the guy that I'd be most targeting in fantasy if there's no Cooper. With that being said, if you look at the numbers where Watson played last year, Njoku's totals were not that great. No. And then when Joe Flacco played, and that handful of games at the end of the year, Njoku was, I mean, Ozzie Newsome. He was awesome.
Yeah.
But that is a little concerning from a fantasy perspective for me, assuming that all of the Browns components in the passing game are going to be there in week 1.
Right. And it's a great point. People rattle off the numbers from David Njoku, but yeah, look closer. That happened with Joe Flacco. Can Deshaun Watson stay on the field? Cedric Tillman's a rising star to me. I want some shares of him late in drafts just to kind of pop him up. Where do you put Deshaun Watson? One QB leagues, I'm thinking, of course, he's not making the cut there, but do you have is he a stash guy? Is he a leave on the waiver wire guy?
So from a fantasy perspective, I think he's getting a bit of a bum rap. Okay. Now you could say what you will about the off-field stuff. And, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened, but we're talking football here and fantasy football in particular. And last year in 3 of the 5 games that he started and finished, he scored over 18 points. He wasn't bad at all. He averaged 17.7 points per game. And that was better than Patrick Mahomes. And remember, the year before, I mean, he had just come back from not playing football for a while.
Yeah.
So you can understand that there was going to be some rust. And now you've got this, you mentioned it, Ken Dorsey. Look at the pass percentage numbers of the Buffalo Bills last year with Dorsey and then when he left.
Yeah.
And you can look at the run percentage numbers as well. You said it. He wants to throw the damn ball. And that could be good for Deshaun Watson. And obviously, he's also a guy who can run with the football. So even though he's being drafted late as a QB2, which is where he should be, I would not be surprised if Deshaun Watson was better than some folks out there believe. And remember, this is a guy who led the league in passing yards a few years ago. Right. He was an elite fantasy quarterback. And then all the off-field stuff happened. And then he got hurt last season. If Deshaun Watson can play 15-plus games, I could absolutely see him being a top 12, top 15 fantasy quarterback.
And could be a league winner. You get him late and you pick him up, right? That's how it works sometimes. In conversation with Michael Fabiano, senior fantasy analyst for Sports Illustrated. Okay, let's talk about your Cowboys. Here, Michael. Let's talk week 1 opponent for the Browns.
I try to smile when we say that, but it's just so depressing, the Cowboys. Okay, go ahead.
Browns fan here, Michael. Look, you got Super Bowls. Come on.
I know.
What do I got?
Bro, I ain't got nothing since 95.
I got nothing since nothing.
This is true. This is true.
My father was the last one who was able to celebrate in 62 for championship.
Yep. The world
or 64
championship.
or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Anyway, we got your Cowboys. I want to give you my outsider kind of look at the Cowboys. I feel there's still the talent there, but I'm just sort of getting this kind of cloud of gloom that like a blow up seems imminent. Like it's like, okay, if this doesn't happen this year or partway through, it's done, and we're going to see a whole new Dallas Cowboys. Are you getting that vibe? What's the feel kind of in Cowboys land?
At least with Dak, I do. And he's in a walk year, and the Cowboys can't franchise him anymore. So he either stays or he goes. And to stay, the Cowboys are going to have to open up the Brinks truck. And I don't like Jerry Jones. I don't like him. I don't know if he's a good human being. My guess is that he probably isn't. I don't know.
Right.
But he's a great businessman, but he's a lousy GM. And I don't care what anybody says until he wins a Super Bowl without some sort of Jimmy Johnson stamp on it. He ain't done nothing in the National Football League except for win a handful of division titles and then bust in the playoffs. That's what the Cowboys have done. We're talking about, listen, if you started rooting for the Dallas Cowboys in like 96, 97, you haven't won anything. You haven't seen them win anything. Like I was lucky enough where I got to watch them play like in the real early 80s when they were getting to NFC championship games and getting beat. Remember, that was 3 years in a row. You remember the catch game, the game against the Redskins, the Eagles. So, and then they went into the tank. But if you hadn't seen like the dynasty, and not for nothing, but I think if you ask Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, any of those guys, if Jimmy Johnson stuck around, they could have won a couple more championships. Who knows, right? At least gotten it to an opportunity to win some more championships, because the 95 team with Barry Switzer was Jimmy Johnson's team.
Right.
I mean, I could have coached that freaking team to a championship. I mean, they were so talented. And, Pittsburgh kind of even gave that game away with Neil O'Donnell throwing the ball to Larry Brown. So the Cowboys fan that has not been a part of that dynasty era, haven't really done. The Cowboys haven't done anything. And so if Dak has a good year and the Cowboys get to the playoffs and they don't win, like, I don't know that Jerry's going to pay him. And I've also heard rumblings that, there's some stuff going on. I don't know what it is with Micah Parsons. I don't know what it is behind the scenes stuff. I have no idea, but I've heard rumblings about him. And CeeDee Lamb, he's fantastic. You have to pay him. You have to pay him. So can the Cowboys pay Dak, and can they pay CD, and can they pay Micah? And, Tyler Smith's going to be up here, and he's been a pretty solid addition to the offensive line. This is what pisses me off about the Cowboys and Jerry Jones. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They had Jalen Hurts on a contract. They got A.J. Brown under contract. They got Devontae Smith on a contract. Yeah. Oh, hell, let's go get Saquon Barkley. And oh, by the way, all the chips fall in their laps this past draft, and certainly in the last few drafts, where positions of need sort of fall to them, and these players maybe weren't projected to fall to them. And so, but they, Howie Roseman knows what he's doing with the cap.
Sure.
And obviously the Joneses have no flipping idea, because you shouldn't be in this place to begin with. So being a Cowboys fan has been very frustrating over the last 30 years. And, it's a love-hate relationship, but I fully expect the Cowboys will compete, maybe make it into the wild card. They're not going to win the division again. Philadelphia is going to do that and lose in the playoffs. And then they're going to have a decision to make with Dak. And my guess is that decision is going to be that you're not going to pay him all of that money. And I don't know what the future would hold. I mean, Trey Lance is not, I believe, under contract either. I think there's like the 5th-year option on him, but it's like $22 million. So
yeah, you're not taking that. No.
I have no idea what's going to happen. Just from the last 25 to 30 years of history, my guess is that ain't going to be good. It's not going to be good. And the Cowboys are going to be a competitive team.
Sure. Obviously, they got talent.
12 games in 3 straight years. But think about this too. You're going to be leaning on a couple of rookie offensive linemen in prominent roles. You have the worst ground attack that you've had since maybe Troy Hambrick, right? I mean, like, they had that one year where Joe Randall was the starter, and after 6 games, they booted him off the team because he was a knucklehead. But then Darren McFadden was actually pretty good. So
yeah,
I'm going back to like Hambrick. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott is like, he's a 2.8 yard per rush guy now.
5 years ago, good looking starter. Not now, not in 2024.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, he's going into his age, I believe, 29 season, and then you got Rico, Dowdle. Okay. Well, I mean, are we seeing something behind the scenes? Are the coaches seeing something that we don't see? Royce Freeman. I mean, Deuce Vaughn is
Journeyman.
3 inches shorter than I am, for Christ's sake. So, and I ain't tall. So the Cowboys have question marks going into the season. And remember, and I'm sorry, I made this a complete rant on the Dallas Cowboys.
Let it out. Therapeutic.
Who did we beat last year? Who do we beat? We beat Detroit, and we got lucky as hell. Right? Who do we beat? Yeah. We didn't beat anybody. We beat Philadelphia, but they were falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't beat anybody.
Were collapsing.
And I'm sorry we say we. I've been a Cowboys fan for 42 years now, so it's a we.
That's being a fan, brother. I know.
Right. So, like, we didn't beat anybody. We had we got in the playoffs, and it was the first 7 to beat a 2. Although there haven't really been a lot of 7s because the extended playoff format has only been around for a couple of years. But still, like, it's like the Cowboys, right? What happens when we play the Houston Texans? The Texans' first franchise game. Guess what? Oh, we get beat. Their first year of expansion. I'll never forget that stupid game. The Cowboys were wearing the navy blues. Dexter Coakley was our main tackler. That guy he was little too. Good old number 52. But I just can't be optimistic with the Cowboys. I can't. From a fantasy perspective, I think Dak will light it up again. I think CD is going to be fantastic again. I think Jake Ferguson's going to be very good. I don't know what to expect from the running game. I don't expect much. I expect a committee. At best, Zeke will be a low-end flex if he's getting opportunities as a pass catcher and goal line looks.
It's got to be only PPR, I would think, because he's under 3 yards a carry now.
Last year, when he started games for the Patriots after Ramondre Stevenson got hurt, he was averaging like 20 touches a game, which is really good. But he was averaging like 2.8 yards per carry or 3 yards a carry. It was garbage.
Yeah.
And I think it was about 65% of his fantasy points in those games came as a receiver.
Yeah, that's right. Right. Yeah. PPR, like, late, he put up some decent numbers, but you're right. It's as a receiver and a committee at best. So we're looking at typical guys for fantasy. Dak Prescott, sure, he's going to put up the nice fantasy numbers. CeeDee Lamb, yes. And Jake Ferguson in that tight end mix, sort of that next tier down, right?
Yeah. Ferguson's, and I wouldn't be surprised if Ferguson's outscored Njoku this year. No offense to the Browns, but sure. I got to see it with Watson. I saw a guy who was dynamite with Flacco, and I saw a guy who was very average. And not for nothing, like David Njoku, like I know his brother a little bit. Seems to be real cool guys. But David really, before last season, was never like statistically like this like high end player.
Mm-hmm.
He was good, but
always
he was never
potential.
Like, yes, right. But he was never like that elite type guy. And last year, in the last half of the season, he got to be that elite type guy, but that was a Flacco. I don't know what he's going to do with Watson. That is one of the questions that we have to have answered from a fantasy perspective as it pertains to your Cleveland Browns.
That's right. Okay. Last one for you here. You mentioned everything else. What about Mike McCarthy with the Cowboys? If there's another season like last year, you get a wild card spot, you make the playoffs, you're out in the first round. Is he fired? Like, you think? Yes, I would think.
Listen, man, but see, I am a fanatic, right? So I'll give you an example. I'm a Yankees fan, and you can crap on me all you want about Yankees Cowboys. I don't give a rat's ass. Okay, that's who I root for.
That's who you are.
You can go to hell. It's America, for Christ's sake. I can root for whoever the hell I want, and I've been rooting for these teams since I'm 8 years old, and I've never strayed. And trust me, the '80s for the Yankees was not fun.
Right.
Trust me, and we haven't won anything since '09, so I don't want to hear it. But I wanted Boone out. I wanted Cashman out. I wanted him out. I was sick of him. After last year, the Yankees stunk, and it was a disgrace. And Cashman had made awful trades. Josh Donaldson, I mean, it was terrible. Right. And I wanted them both out. And this year, the Yankees have been awesome. They've been awesome. And shocks the hell out of me because we've done it without Garrett Cole, but we have been awesome. And Juan Soto has certainly helped that. And so while I still don't love Cashman and Boone because they've given me some, even though Boone's got a great record, I mean, I don't care. I want to at least go to the ALCS. Right. The Yankees haven't kind of gotten there. With McCarthy, it's the same kind of thing, but worse, because McCarthy wins regular season games And then in the playoffs, I mean, like he's had one successful run in the playoffs, and that was when the Packers won the Super Bowl. That was a long freaking time ago.
That was it.
A long time. It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I've met Mike McCarthy, and he's a nice guy. I just don't. I wanted Belichick, man, and maybe that's just me being a spoiled Cowboys fan. And by the way, I ain't spoiled. We haven't won jack in 25 to 30 years. But man, I wanted Belichick because then
get him next year.
Because then there's no excuse. Yeah, it could be, but then there's no excuse because you bring in arguably, and I say arguably, the greatest head coach in the history of pro football. Okay, arguably. All right, Vince Lombardi and some others would probably have some arguments about that. And then the Cowboys don't get it done. Then there's a deeper issue there.
Right.
There's something going on. Like I remember Dalton Schultz did an interview now that he's with the Houston Texans. And he was talking about how like the guys would be working out in their gym behind glass, and they would have like tours come through where people would be looking at them. And it's almost like I'm going to the zoo.
Going to the zoo, yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, like that Jerry World is a zoo. Like, honestly, like I wouldn't, does he have like women dancing in cages? I think cheerleaders. I think he does. Doesn't he? I mean, like
perhaps
it's all a spectacle.
Yeah.
For me, Jerry Jones football is second. He can say whatever he wants. He said he was all in, and if being all in means signing basically no one, I don't understand what the definition of that term is. But bottom line here is that Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, I would think to a degree, have wrecked the Cowboys, and the Cowboys, if they don't win a championship this year or make a run to at least get to the NFC Championship game, it could end up turning badly for Dallas over the next couple of years if Dak leaves, and Dak will be able. I have a nightmare. You see this helmet? Wait, where am I going? Wait, that way, right there.
Is that Giants?
I'm afraid. I fear because I'm a Cowboys from the tri-state area. I fear him going to the Giants.
Right.
Because that would be like that. Dak would be like, you know what? Screw all you freaking people. I'm going to New York. I'm going to beat you twice a year because the Giants are going to need a quarterback. I don't know why. Like just in the back of my head, I'm afraid of that. But anyways, he could go wherever he wants, and he can go to the highest bidder. And if I'm Dak Prescott, I'm going to the highest bidder. You think I'm taking a hometown discount to play for the Cowboys? Because all the crap that he gets? Hell no.
No.
So
absolutely not.
Yeah, things could go sideways pretty quick for the Cowboys. So I don't know what to expect. I think the Cowboys are probably a wild card team. They're not going to win the division unless the Eagles completely fall on their face like they did the second half of last year. And I kind of wouldn't expect it to happen again. And they're not going to contend for a Super Bowl. And if you don't get to the NFC Championship game, I don't know that you can bring McCarthy back and keep the fan base. And I don't know that they'll want Dak back because at the end of the day, Dak hadn't done anything in the playoffs either.
That is true. Well, we hope you get off to a bad start. Only in week one, then all the good luck after that.
No, it's a road game. I mean, we're going to lose. Cleveland, I mean, you guys were awesome at home last year. On the road,
you did really well.
That was one of the craziest things too. Like fantasy, as you break it down, when you look at a matchup against Cleveland, you're like, oh, damn, that defense is really good, but not on the road.
Not on the road.
And you guys, and you saw that against Houston. Like,
did.
And it was the weirdest thing because I remember, they're still playing fantasy during the playoffs, and then you're like, oh man, I don't know if I want to start any Texans this week because they're playing the Browns, but the Browns are not that good on the road, which is really strange. Very strange scenario there. But Cleveland at home, I mean, at least it's not going to be super cold there. It'll be September, so it'll be nice. It'll be seasonable. It'll be nice, but I still expect the Cowboys to lose. But dude, I mean, I'm the ultimate pessimist when it comes to Dallas. I'm the ultimate pessimist because I know at some point my heart's going to get broken. I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen.
It's just when. I'm with you.
When we got beat by Green Bay, I did a TikTok. I think I got 200,000 friggin' views because I was out of my mind. And then when they decided to bring McCarthy back, I did another one, and it was like 100 or 150,000 people. Because I got pissed because like I love the Cowboys, like I love the Yankees. I mean, like these are my teams, and I have others. I'm not going to mention them because more people make fun of me when I mention who they are. But the bottom line here is that, like, I've had a monogamous relationship with my teams for longer than I'll ever be with any female. Let's put it that way, all right? And so when they continue to make bad decisions and disappoint me, it's heartbreaking. It hurts. Yeah. Again, I am a fanatic, so
I can't quit you. I can't quit you.
No, exactly, right? It's like that kid. It's like that kid in college that was dating Sydney Sweeney, and then he sees what she's turned out to, and he's like,
oh man,
oh, God. What did I do? Oh my gosh. What did I do? Yeah, I'll never quit them. But
No, you can't. You can't.
I know that the heartbreak is coming. It's just inevitable.
Well, where can people get you on TikTok and social media? Let them know.
So on X, is it X? Is it Twitter? I don't know.
Yeah, X. I do both. I say X, Twitter, whatever.
Yeah, but see, this is Des Bryant. That's Des Bryant to me. Yes. Instagram is at Michael_Fabiano_. TikTok, I think it's at Michael_Fabiano_. I don't remember. I got to be honest with you. I've only been on TikTok a few years. I have a lot of followers, and I think it's at Michael_Fabiano_, because there's another Michael Fabiano out there. There's probably many, or not many, but he's an opera singer. He's a well-known opera singer, and it's funny. He's from Jersey, and he's a Yankees fan, and I actually had him on my radio show at one point. So Fabs was interviewing Fabs. And that's so amazing. He's got at Michael Fabiano. So I couldn't get that one.
He beat you too.
But yeah. So what's funny is that he gets fantasy football questions asked to him.
and you get opera
tagged, and I get I got to be honest with you. Even if I did get him for free, I'm not going to an opera.
No.
But maybe that's about it. I would get tagged on Facebook or on social media about how great Michael Fabiano was in concert. He was you don't want to hear me sing.
Maybe you're on something.
When I was in college, had a hair band, we used to do covers, but opera.
Oh, beautiful. No. I think there's a collab here on TikTok, right? That's the new thing.
Oh my God, it might be, right?
We might have to do that. Opera singing fantasy football advice. That's 1 million views right there. Boom.
It could be. Well, it depends on how good the advice is.
That is true. Michael, okay, so Sports Illustrated, anything else you want to plug? You're on with Lindsay Rhodes. You guys do such amazing
work.
I know.
So I got this lovely lady who's a great pal of mine, Lindsay, who we do a podcast over on Believe. You can find that anywhere that you find your podcast. That is the Believe Fantasy Football Show. And Sports Illustrated, Westwood One will be doing Amber Harris and I will be doing our show, probably kicking off at some point, September, beginning of the season. I'm still trying to enjoy the summer months as much as I can, knowing that in maybe 6 to 8 weeks, this wing right here will be in a sling, and I ain't gonna be a happy camper. But we'll be all over the place. So,
well, we wish you all the best and speedy recovery after the surgery, my friend. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks, my man. Good luck to your Browns, and enjoy the 1-0 start.
Yes, I'm hoping for it, buddy. Okay, talk to you later. There he goes. Michael Fabiano from Sports Illustrated, Westwood One, does a great show with Lindsay Rhodes. You heard it all there. Absolutely love having Fabs on. The man. I hope he's right. Look, I wish the Dallas Cowboys no specific ill will outside of week 1. We need that win. But my attention keeps going back to that Amari Cooper holdout. And Fabs is right. 30 isn't old when it comes to a wide receiver. And he knows his value because, like we said, if you want to be in a passing offense and you go from Amari Cooper to Jerry Jeudy, and I still think Jeudy can be good, but it's just I think Deshaun Watson can be good. I haven't seen it, right? You have to have faith. We've seen Amari Cooper be amazing and consistent. You go Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, who did nothing special last year, who I still think can be successful in a pass-heavy shotgun offense out of the slot. Sure. Cedric Tillman. You get to all question marks at wide receiver once Amari Cooper goes away. All question marks. The David Njoku angle. The spike he had versus Joe Flacco in this new Ken Dorsey offense with Njoku said, like I said off the top, quote, juicy. He loves it. Well, does he love it with Deshaun Watson? I almost said under center. There won't be any under center this year. Deshaun Watson out of shotgun. The running game's got to take a hit. Because we just know it's not as effective if you're out of shotgun. Running back gets no running start. It's either hand it, we're going to be RPOing it, which if it works is fine. But now there's no Joe Flacco coming to the rescue. You have Jameis Winston, who I love the charisma. I'd love to have the guy on the show. Entertaining as hell. I also remember, though, he threw as many touchdowns as interceptions not that long ago. And then Tyler Huntley, who is a Cleveland Brown, so I hope he does well, but that was the fakest, most pathetic Pro Bowl berth. I don't blame Huntley. He didn't ask for it. ever given out. He's not a good throwing quarterback. He can run, he can't throw. And then DTR, who is still working on a hip. Or I'm starting to panic myself here. Okay, we're still in good shape. We're still mini camp. Amari, get back. See what one domino. Quiet off season. We're feeling all good. Quiet off season. And then one thing happens and we start to panic a little bit. How are you feeling, Browns fans? How are you feeling, Dog Pound? Let me know your thoughts about the Amari Cooper situation. You worried? You panicked? It's a blip. He'll miss a couple of days. Andrew Berry will rejig the contract. Leave me comments. Hit us up on Twitter, X, at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81. Make sure you follow Michael Fabiano on all platforms as well. Instagram and TikTok at AndyMCSports. I think it'll be Andrew Berry's a wizard. That whole front office is a wizard when it comes to salary stuff. I think they'll get something figured out. So I'm not super concerned, but when you start running down the rabbit hole of what life looks like without Amari Cooper and how thin you are, and that he has missed a couple games here and there, oh boy, that starts to get a little bit dicey. So we're done with the Cowboys. What do you think the Browns' record will be after week 1? Did they beat the Cowboys? From what Fabs is saying, I think yes. But you got to have Deshaun Watson hit the ground running. You got to. Is that plausible? Is it logical? Is it going to happen? How much of a break do we give him with the quote, that dreaded rust word again? I'm not interested in rust. Joe Flacco got off the couch 11 months. No rust. Not interested, Deshaun. Glenoid, bone, whatever the heck or not. Okay? You better hit the ground running. And quick shout out at the end, as we wrap up, to Diamond Dallas Page, who was on the show a couple weeks ago. DDP, I went to his retreat, the workout workshop in Guelph, Ontario. What a time. I went with my buddy Josh. His beautiful wife, Paige McMahon was there as well. 151 people in the venue, hearing these great inspirational stories, wrestling stories I've never heard before, doing a workout. And I'm telling you, for Fabs or anybody else, shoulder, knees, back, just want to feel better, overweight, or just want to get more fit, DDPY is what you do. DDPY.com, DDPyoga.com, the app. Look, I've been using it since 2018. And with the power cuffs now, at 43, I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life. Okay, he's not paying me to say it. I'm a believer and I love it. And DDP is the man. Just like all of you are the men and women for watching the show. For producer Shane, I'm Andy McNamara. Come on, Amari. We need you back, baby. Get back to camp. Okay, come on, Amari. Get back to camp. We'll see you next week. We'll tee up the week 2 opponent. Let me know what you think. Browns versus Cowboys. I say it's a Browns W. We'll see you next time on the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. Go Browns!
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.